One of the things about being a prepper is that you tend to look toward problems, issues, and we plan ahead. We want to forecast, and these things are happening, these things are coming. But a lot of times it's hype. A lot of times it may be years in the making, and it's not really evident that people can see it. You know, I've been called a fearmongerer for years. And it's, part of it could be possibly true because I'm looking more toward a negative outlook on things that are happening. Food shortages, we've been talking about that. We've had food stored up for years. But at this present time, we're facing a global food crisis like no one has seen in their lifetime. One of the problems, of course, that really kind of got this going is the war in Ukraine. They do produce 30% of the wheat products there in the Ukraine and in Russia. In Ukraine, the production is almost standstill. But they do have 20 million tons of grain sitting in ports that can't be transported because of the Russian war, because of mines that are out in the Black Sea. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Also, 15% of the corn production is also from Ukraine and Russia, and 67% of sunflower oil, and also other products that come out of the Ukraine and the Russian area. I mean, the Ukraine has been considered the breadbasket of Europe for decades. And here in the U.S., we have been the world leader in wheat production and a lot of other things. But a lot of that has changed. A lot of that has changed because they have been encouraged to produce corn that makes ethanol, and also a lot of soybeans and other things. And two, just production has lessened altogether. In California, there are massive droughts that have gone on, and they've actually shut off a lot of the water that needs to be used for food production. And California's been a big area where food has been produced. Now, a lot of these facts come from the UN Security Council, and they have declared a national global food emergency. So this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea and gathering a lot of facts. Also, even the U.S. government has already warned us that food shortages are coming. Biden himself has spoken about this. And so there are a lot of indicators that are saying we are going to be facing some food shortages. One of the sad things is that though the world produces enough food to feed everyone, the problem isn't food production as much as it is distribution. And so getting food to those places. One of the big problems, though, is fuel cost. Fuel cost around the world has skyrocketed. It's not just gasoline, it's not just diesel. It's also home heating oil, it's natural gas, it's grease to tend to different and maintain different equipment. You name it, the different types of oils and lubrications we're having a world shortage. And those affect commerce. It affects every part of our life. And so that's one of the big problems, which ends up causing problems with repair parts for farming equipment, which that is a real problem. They're not able to get the parts. They can't get them distributed into the different areas. And again, when they do, they're paying a lot of money. Now, let's talk about solutions. We know the problems. There's a lot of things out there that are indicators, and you can dive down deep and find out a lot of things. In fact, I would recommend Southern Prepper 1. He's doing a whole series on boots on the ground, and he has viewers sending him messages about certain things they're seeing all over the United States, and it is very enlightening. And I'll have his channel annotated above, but it's really an eye-opening experience to just watch people from all over the country, not just listening to national media. Okay, so one of the first things is to go out and to buy dry goods, beans, rice, those kind of things that last. It's long-term, non-perishable. Canned food is an excellent way to get ahead. Again, it'll last up to 100 years. Don't look at the best by date. That just means, that's the best by date for total freshness and nutrition. But canned food will continue to be good and edible for decades. So stocking up on canned food is one of the things that we really try to do. The problem, of course, is storing it in a cool, dry place that doesn't get a lot of sunlight. That just really helps. But really getting some food put back just for yourself, making sure your pantry's full. One of the problems with inflation is that you go to the grocery store this week and prices are at a certain rate. You go the next week and the prices, you're just buying less for more. So going ahead and buying food ahead of time and putting it back really is just smart. The second thing is farmers markets. Guys, that is one thing that you can use that really can help you to get through. One of the great things about a farmer's market is there's not a lot of transportation cost. A lot of these are local farmers, and really buying local is very important in inflation and in food shortages because you can pick up those items and you can actually take them and can them, buy bushels of beans, buy different things. Going together with friends or family and buy a cow. And there's local cattle farmers that will also help you. And, you know, we've done that a number of times in the past. We're looking at doing it again right now. And it's better, grain-fed beef, usually no hormones, and it's just a great way to be able to get good quality meat. And yet, it's local, and it's not being transported across the country. But obviously, gardens are a big part of staying self-sustainable. You're more self-reliant. And, you know, maybe the garden can't actually feed you and your family totally, but it will help to fill in the gaps. And it's fresh, it's good for you. And even if you have a small container garden, you can do that on a back deck or a porch. Even if you live in an apartment, grow some tomatoes, grow some different things, an herb garden. You know, there are so many different ways. Of course, if you live in a neighborhood, you can have raised beds, you can do things like that just to facilitate having vegetables. And then if you have some property, I highly recommend getting that tilled up, even now. Of course, the peak growing season is right now. So go ahead and get those things ready and start planting gardens. Buying seed and having extra seed is really smart. But it only lasts for so many years. And a lot of times people buy these seed vaults and they'll buy them and they're all wrapped up in mylar and things like that. But after 5 years, those seeds are not any good, or they produce really low yields. And if you're buying non-hybrid seeds or heirloom seeds, and that allows you to reproduce. Guys, most of the seed that you're buying in the grocery store, they can be hybrid. That means that they will not reproduce. And so getting those heirloom or non-hybrid seeds, you can harvest the seeds for next year's planting. And again, guys, being set up for canning. I mean, having the jars, having the lids especially, because you can reuse the jars. You need to have extra lids, your pressure cookers, the different things, whatever method you're using. Also, dehydration, that's a great way to do it. Dehydrating your meats and your food, that'll help it to last longer. And you can vacuum seal. I mean, there's a lot of different options. Yes, we have power right now, but we can have blackouts and brownouts that they are predicting. Here in South Carolina, we produce a lot of nuclear energy, but it takes a lot of coal, and there's a coal shortage, and guys, it just falls into so many different areas. So getting yourself somewhat self-reliant is just a great way to go, and it's going to keep your dinner table full. Less waste. There are a lot of people that just will not eat leftovers. Guys, that is a waste. You need to be able to eat, and you need to be able to produce food you know, that you're gonna eat and not have a lot of excess. And then again, if you do, then store it away and reuse it. And that's not just with food, it's also with tinfoil, it's also with even plastic wrap, Ziploc bags. My wife is, and I've given her a hard time about it in the past, but she'll rinse out Ziploc bags and reuse them. And I think that's one of the problems, is we become a very disposable society. And so taking things, you know, it's a little inconvenient, but it's really smart, especially as prices go up. You're going to really need to be able to save your dollar and stretch it. That's one of the things that was a big lesson during the Great Depression. And my grandparents, they always stored up extra things, whether it was, you know, bags, wrapping paper, tinfoil, different items that they could reuse. And they reused them. Now guys, as the economy slows down because of inflation and because of supply shortages, a lot of companies are laying off people. And those people are going to be without a job. Now, with the labor shortages, maybe they can find a job, but it may be less than what they had before. Here's the thing, guys. Be indispensable where you work. Be the person that they can count on. Honesty, and just your word is your bond. And guys, if people can depend on you, you're going to be less out to be let go when they do have any kind of labor cutbacks. Another big problem is fertilizers. And Russia is the world leader in producing fertilizer. In fact, up to 90%. Fertilizers are used to produce more yields in the farms and to produce more products. And so when fertilizers are scarce, it's going to cause a lot of problems, less yield again. But also, one of the world's largest fertilizing plants burned to the ground. It takes a lot of time to get those back up to running, plus getting the parts and the raw materials has also been a problem. And then we have labor shortages, especially here in the US. And there's not really a clear reason why, but people just aren't going back to work. There's a lot of people that are, finding internet options to be able to earn income, and there's a lot of scams out there. In fact, just on my Sootch YouTube channel, I've had to block 25 channels that were offering scams, and a lot of them were using my actual icon and fooling people into paying money because they want a giveaway, and then nothing ever happens. But guys, a lot of scams, a lot of things that are going on out there that just make it worse. I had one of my viewers sent me a video about truckers, and Amazon trucks, they're running all over the place. But there are people that are hacking into their system and they're stealing truckloads of goods and things that people are ordering, and it just disappears. So scams and corruption are one of the biggest things. The other problem is, even in our own U.S. government, there's so many scams, there's so much corruption that people are making a lot of money at the expense of our well-being. And also, one of the major shortages is aluminum. Aluminum actually is used for cans. It's used for car parts. It's used for so many different things, and those are very difficult to get. There is a world shortage with aluminum, and so that is going to be another problem. Canned food is one of the best to stock back because of the high pressures they're using, because of the way they seal it and the sanitary conditions. Canned food can last up to 100 years. A lot of the food has been lined too with material that actually keep it from getting that metal taste to it once they've been sitting for a long time. So canned food is really an excellent option. But again, aluminum is short, and so we're going to have less access to canned food. And one thing, this is actually a side note, is antibiotics. China produces 90% of the antibiotics for the world, and we produce very little. And a lot of hospitals and doctors' offices, they're not able to give out antibiotics like they have in the past. Now, some of that may be on the good side, but guys, we need antibiotics. Infections can kill you, and without that, we're going to be in serious trouble. And one of the problems also with China is that if they decide to invade Taiwan or attack Taiwan, we may be cut off from the supplies that are coming from China, which is one of the largest producers of goods that we use here in the U.S. Walmart will definitely be shut down, and Amazon. But the big problem with food shortages is that prices go through the roof, and fresh vegetables and meats have gone up to 30%. The inflation rate overall officially is 7.5%, when in actuality it's around 15%. And that's really just across the board, which really means that the products that you're buying are not going up, it's just that your dollar is going down. In fact, a few years ago, the Secretary of Treasury for the Obama administration said if you have $1,000 in the bank, you're going to lose 10% of that every year for the next 10 years. That equals zero. And this is money that you're going to need to provide for your family. Not only food, but also different supplies and things that you use in an everyday situation. Now, one big thing is barter. Barter is a very important part of getting through tough times. And even if you do have a garden, you can be more specific, and you can work with different groups where they're producing certain things, and then you can trade and barter around with different things. I mean, whether you have herb gardens, whether you have beans and corn, whatever you're doing, if you're a little bit more specific, if you're working in a group, it helps to be able to, keep different variety of things, and it makes it a lot easier. One thing that a lot of people have done lately is they get on these Facebook groups and then they work together. But the Facebook Marketplace is also a great place to find different items. If you're looking for something and you can't find it, it's out of stock, but somebody may have it, they may not need it. So you're able to barter and trade, or even purchase those things. But guys, again, having a group is very important. Having like-minded people around you is something that is indispensable. Whether it's your neighbors, your family, friends, or you form a group of people that are like-minded, and you want to make sure that they are like-minded. Be careful with egos. Egos are one thing that we just don't have time for with our prepper group. Is we're all together, we're all on an equal playing field, and we all depend on each other, and we build relationships. And one big thing to consider is alcohol, tobacco, sugar, salt, stocking up on those things to barter and trade with. Those are things that people crave or need. And guys, there's a lot of people that have to have a drink and they'll do about anything for it. And you may be able to get some things that you need for a lot less than you would have to otherwise. But because of the financial situation, your dollar growing less and less, guys, I'm a big proponent of having precious metals. They've been around since the beginning of time, since they found precious metals, gold and silver. Guys, it will preserve your wealth. And even if the dollar falls completely flat, gold and silver will always have value. It's God's currency, and it's something that is really smart to put back. One thing that we do is we'll put gold and silver back, and we calculate how much we have based on our bills. And then we kind of set it, we say, well, we've got at least 6 months, we've got at least a year that we can live if we weren't getting any other income, because we have that silver and gold. And there'll always be places to trade and barter and sell it. But cash is going to lose its value. Gold and silver is going to go up in value. The one thing about inflation is you're losing buying power with the dollar. You're increasing your buying power with precious metals. That can also be copper, brass, and lead. And it can also be steel in firearms. So precious metals cover a lot of areas. But one of the things you got to remember is that in Argentina, when they had their economic collapse, a lot of people had stored up ammunition to trade and to barter with. And then the government passed a law, and they said you had to have a license to be able to make any kind of transaction with ammunition. And that really became a problem for those that had it stocked up. Be versatile. That's the big thing. And you got to improvise to survive. So guys, it's coming. We've lived a very soft and cushy existence, especially here in the United States. I mean, we have all the supplies we could ever want. You can order anything right there with your fingertips on your computer or your phone, and it just appears the next day. But those days are coming to an end. And, I hate to be someone that kind of brings all this stuff out, and yet it's a huge warning because, guys, it is coming, and we need to be prepared. And again, guys, there's enough food in the world to feed everyone. The big problem is distribution. But because of the distribution chain, and there's so many different aspects to it, bottlenecks, fuel cost, parts problems, raw material problems, we've got to go ahead and take steps to protect your family. Guys, check out Sportsman's Guide for all kind of accessories, shooting, hunting, camping, military surplus from all over the world. It's one of my go-to sources, and you get $20 off for every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, S-O-O-T-C-H, in the coupon code. And if you're a member of their Buyers Club, you get free shipping. And that really comes in handy when you're ordering jerry cans. So check out Sportsman's Guide, great resource. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Which is 15% of the world. It's also, Ukraine also supplies 15% of the corn. Higher for us, but typically we'll be able to get food. But there are going to be shortages there as well. So I'm going to give you a number of, okay, I already did that, is when you get into the Ukraine and the war that's going on there, so guys, it's coming. Okay, let me cut that out. Over 30% of wheat production comes from the, what the heck? Trees are falling.